We have on the left this new harbor expansion where the city dock is right next to the Mather. And we have a beginning on the right of seeing how the whole North Coast Harbor just gets expanded west as we move along the waterfront. And again, it's the place, the square. That's the thing we're seeking all year long. And that's it. So thank you for your time. I did end on 120. So.
Today at the City Club of Cleveland, we are listening to a special program featuring speakers Adam Wasserman, President and CEO of the Cleveland-Cuyahoga County Port Authority, and Stan Eckstut, Principal with Ehrenkrantz, Eckstut, and Kuhn. We'll return to our speakers in a minute for our traditional City Club questions. Now we would like to return to our speaker for our traditional City Club question and answer period. We welcome questions from everyone, including guests. Holding the microphone is City Club PR and Program Manager, Carrie Miller. First question, please.
What is the proposed market demand for your proposed uses?
As I mentioned before, we're doing first of all, a city plan. So city fabric is you have to create the opportunity for the marketplace to be able to come into play and create something that would probably reach beyond the current market of any location and create something which is something new, different, attraction, way beyond even maybe the regional marketplace of Cleveland, something on a national, international basis. So when you ask the question about marketing and uses, first of all, and I know this may sound strange, but it's working in many places, worked in Baltimore, we never really thought about what was inside the buildings. In fact, in the renderings, you couldn't tell what was residential, what was office, hotel. It was a mixed-use concept for any and all uses that were reasonable. The city council there gave limits of 800 hotel rooms, 1,200 apartments, and it was up to the marketplace. Instead of saying ahead of time, we know where things go and how they get distributed and what size buildings should be and all that. We just wrote the great plan, the streets, blocks, wrote the rules about heights, etc., where ground floors were important, and then allowed the market to be able to develop the city front. So the answer is, as the market evolves and as the market gets attracted, it'll start to invent its own set of numbers and demand, et cetera, that we're able to then offer with this fabric. We're trying most of all to have a very, on the one hand, guaranteeing lots of public benefits and then having maximum flexibility in the market's ability to respond to the plan. And, Baltimore, we didn't have any market when we did that project. Battery Park City was totally bankrupt. There was no one interested in being there when we did the plan. Long Beach, California, waterfront there, same thing, no market. We are creating a city, a fabric of the city, that in its own right has a logic and is going to be able to go out and compete in a really large marketplace and have some goods and all to be able to help the development community do that. And that's a long-winded non-answer to your question.
And the short follow-up. When we hired EEK, Stan Eckstut and Company, to come in and give us a world-class design, we also paired them with another world-class firm who's not here. It's behind the scenes. It's a firm called PA Consulting, and that's a firm out of Washington, New York, and Rotterdam that's looking at our marketplace and looking at it differently than we'd look at it. It really does model after the way Stan described it. Can we create a product that not only Clevelanders would want to be in and perhaps invest in and perhaps have their home or their house or their home or their office or otherwise there, but would someone from the suburbs want to come, or someone from Columbus, or someone from elsewhere in the Midwest, or, for goodness sake, someone from beyond the community, even beyond that? So we're looking at the marketplace. I think we know this marketplace as well as anybody's ever known it. I think we are trying to understand how to create a product that is not distinct from but additive to and so unique that that investment wants to come here. If we bank on the marketplace for downtown today, frankly, this would never get done. We're going to have to think about Cleveland being successful, in a way that is beyond who we are today. And that's the whole point of doing it, which is to add to our downtown and to give a new product so we can attract folks to live and work here that aren't here today.
Yes. A number of years ago, Andre Stwani's firm did a plan for West Palm in Florida, excuse me, which has a waterfront, of course, on the intercoastal, and provided for stimulus for accelerated development. I'm sure you're familiar with plans, either if not that one, others like it, where the accelerated development was stimulated by saying on a given parcel of land with open use restrictions like you're discussing. You know, if you build it in the next 5 years, you can build to an FAR of X, and then reducing it over time so that to stimulate a higher and denser development in a quicker time. Did you give any thought to that kind of any of that kind of market dynamics? I know, obviously, we're in an economic meltdown at the moment, but when you were developing this plan, did you? And would you?
No, I do know the plan. I know West Palm Beach, and I was there 3 months ago, so I've seen the results of that. My sense is I don't think the issue here is incentives. It's really the marketplace. And what happened in Baltimore is there was no marketplace, and we planned originally for 4 to 6 story buildings with some higher buildings. Well, anyway, the plans started taking off, and most developers would rather start out with minimum risk if they can and not have to go bigger than necessary. But with the option is, should the demand start picking up, can we add more density? And I think that's where we are. We'd like to figure out a way of starting small with the least risk, but enough to make a critical mass so that the vision looks complete and is believable. And then have nothing in the way of allowing more density within the limits, of course, of some established land use policy. The other thing is that I think is more important that we've learned than the incentives on density and all is developers need certainty more than they need anything else because they don't want to get involved in any kind of large public planning process and all that. So in Battery Park City, it's the only place in New York that a developer can build a building and there's not one public meeting, all done in ahead of time. And all they do is go to the building department. 3 months from the moment they put money down on a project, they can go into a building department. That's the kind of thing I think we need to find out from the development community is if there are other kinds of needs here, because the cost of money sometimes is even more significant, especially in these days. Well, you don't even have it, so right. We're getting it back.
I was just wondering, with respect, I think the city started West 6 widening the sidewalk for the restaurants that are there. You talked about a pedestrian walkway, I think, to... How is that going to work? Are you also going to have cars all the way getting to the water? What's the connection going to be between West 6 and the waterfront?
We're studying this with the city and Downtown Alliance, et cetera, but we think there is, by looking at the plans with Bob, Linda, and all, that you can begin to first at the top of the bluff change some of the sidewalk curb, crosswalks, et cetera, signalization where the ramps on and off the highway are so that you can get to the edge of the bluff. And from that point on, what we've been thinking of to date is a pedestrian bridge that would bring you right to the park system itself. You would wind up in the park. That doesn't mean we haven't looked at cars and all that, but the problem is if we do cars, we're going to have to wind up extending the street way over the park system on the waterfront. But nothing is out of the question at this point in time. Up to now, it's been pure pedestrian and bicycle.
Today at the City Club, we have been listening to a New Leaders program sponsored by the Downtown Cleveland Alliance featuring Adam Wasserman, President and CEO of the Cleveland, Cuyahoga County Port Authority, and Stan Eckstut of EEK. Thank you, speakers. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This program is now adjourned.